Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. I just wanted to go over a couple of weighing, measuring, best practices info, just a couple tips and tricks that can get you going. I know it's super annoying at first, or always, I don't know. I enjoy weighing and measuring my food now, so call me crazy, call me the weighing measuring ninja. But a couple of things. Here is the basic scale that I've used since the beginning of my journey. It's $13, $14 on Amazon. Got a link in our Pinterest group there to buy this one. If you want a little fancier, this is Mike's Fancy Schmancy scale. Yes, we have two in our kitchen because we're both cooking and doing our own things at our own pace. But he loves this one because he can put his plate on the scale and then it actually pulls out. Here, see if you can see this. It pulls out so you can have your information read and your plate isn't covering up. So if you've ever had this situation where on this one, sometimes you put a plate on this one, it covers it up and you kind of have to eyeball it a little weird, right? You can't see it. That can solve this problem. But I think this one is $50 on Amazon. And yeah, if you end up doing this long term, this is a pretty cool buy that we have. So I just wanted to show you the difference between the two scales. This one is not necessary. I use this one the majority of the time and it's just fine. So a couple of things about your scale. So I always say 0/tare button. So I want you guys to know what that is. They're the same thing. On this scale, it's a tare button right here. And on this scale, it's a 0 button, but they do the same thing. And what I want to show you, I'm going to 0, yeah. So basically the 0 or the tare button always takes you to 0. And so one of the things that I like to do, there's a couple of ways to do this. So the traditional way is, yeah, you put your plate on here, you hit the 0 tare button, and then you take out, you know, however much peanut butter you want and put it on your plate, right? Here's a hack. You can also put your jar of peanut butter on the scale, hit the 0 button, and then actually scoop out the amount that you need, and then it'll show you the grams in negative, and then you can just put it directly on your sandwich, so, or whatever it is that you're eating. So know that you can do, it's called a reverse tare or a reverse 0, and do it that way. I do that with my yogurt too. I'll put it on the scale, hit the 0 button, and then scoop out the 170 grams that I usually eat. That is the serving. So that's a little hack there. The tare button, the 0 button, and the reverse tare or 0, however you want to do that. The other thing I just want to quickly go over are the different units on the scale. So on this one, I can't really read it upside down, but generally you have grams, right? That is the little G. And grams is a great way to weigh and measure your food because all of a sudden you're not limited to the serving size that's on the package. This is great for things like blueberries or even peanut butter, which can be high in fat. I rarely eat a full serving of peanut butter. I'll usually generally eat somewhere between 8 and 12 grams of peanut butter because that's what my day can afford when I have peanut butter. Also things like chocolate chips or nuts. Mike likes to add those to his yogurt, but he won't use a full serving. He'll sprinkle enough on there just to get a little bit of taste, and then he'll measure it just in straight grams. So you'll always find in Cronometer, if you look at the little G, when you look at the serving size that you're entering in, there is always a small G at the very bottom of each drop-down menu. You can always enter any food in Cronometer in grams. So just know that is a little bit of a hack. You don't have to default to the serving size on the package or eat the serving size. So just know that. The other thing is if your scale has milliliters, both grams and milliliters are exactly the same. So like this scale, no, actually this scale does have milliliters. I don't think this one does, but that's fine because you can measure in grams. They're pretty much the same measurement. You're not gonna go wrong measuring those the same. Now in terms of meat or items that from the entry in Cronometer might show as cooked or uncooked, This is where things become a little confusing. So a good tip here is just to really look at your label. The safest way to do this is to look at the label. Now Jif is a very bad example of this, but if you look at your label, let's imagine that this is raw chicken, all right? And you look at the label and it doesn't specify whether it's cooked or uncooked. Chances are it's going to be uncooked. So most meats and other things on a label that need to be cooked, know that it's in its uncooked state unless otherwise specified. There's like a turkey sausage that I bought the other day that actually showed the serving size as 2 ounces cooked. So just be aware of that. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. If it's cooked like the turkey sausage that I used, then you're safe. You can go ahead and cook it and know that whatever you weigh and measure, that label will be accurate. But let's say you have chicken that you know the label is uncooked. There are 2 ways you can do that. First of all, you can just pull up a USDA entry in Cronometer for cooked chicken. That should be fairly accurate. So then you don't have to worry about weighing and measuring. You're going to be pretty on target as long as you weigh and measure your cooked chicken and use that entry. Just make sure to add any sauces or anything like that that you might have. In terms of, if you want to get super technical with it, you can always cook the chicken, then weigh it in its entirety, and then break it down and measure it by piece. But that becomes a little complicated because they're all different sizes. So just know it's best to pay attention to whether it's cooked or uncooked and make sure you're tracking that accordingly so that the correct weight transfers. This also applies to things like rice and frozen vegetables and all of that. And a lot of times I'll weigh it before and after I'm cooking, especially if I'm just doing an individual portion, just to see how much it shrinks up or expands as well, just for my own knowledge. But anyway, those are a handful of tips and tricks in terms of weighing and measuring, and I hope that helps.